Hey, what's going on, guys? This is JD Moon, and I'm coming at you guys with another Magicka DK build video. That's going to be for the Wrathstone patch. Sorry. Anyways, so this is going to be the Fire Mage build. As I said before, I'm just going to start naming them after the characters, unless I decide I want to come up with a spunky name. Anyways, this is a pretty fun build. I know it's got a lot of health, and I know a lot of guys aren't used to me having this much health, but I decided to go kind of the old school route that I went, you know, years and years and years ago when Morrowind came out, and so that's what we're doing today. Yeah. Anyway, so I want to dive into gear, sets, CP, and all that good stuff. I did throw CP around quite a bit, and I really came out with what I would consider a pretty fun CP. As well as once we're done with all that, I'm gonna give you guys some footage too at the end of the video, so you guys can kind of see, you know, what it looks like on a duo basis. I don't really think I have a whole lot of solo footage on this guy. I did play a lot of it solo, but I don't have a whole lot of footage. I don't know what this blinking thing is in front of the screen, but it's kind of driving me nuts. Anyways, so yeah, let's dive into it. All right, so a lot of people are like, JD, how you tanking so much? Well, here we go. For sets, I'm running Bloodspawn. It's going to be a medium helm with a light shoulder. I do have one sturdy piece on. This would be in pin, considering I'm not really doing the whole permablock thing as of late. So I don't really need the, you know, I don't really need the sturdy. But that's okay. Sturdy's fine for now. All right, moving on. On the chest, we're running a Curse of Vampire's Cloak. For those of you who don't remember what Vampire's Cloak is, it is 2 pieces gives max health, 3 pieces gives 127 spell damage, and 4 pieces gives another max health. When 5 pieces give us it reduces our damage taken by 8%. What in the hell is going on? Now on the gloves, belt, boots, and pants, I'm running Swift. For those of you guys who don't know what Swift is, they did update it this patch. It's given us 2 pieces maximum Magicka, 3 pieces is 2975 physical resistance, 4 pieces 2975 spell resistance, and the 5 piece is giving us a total of 10% reduction from players. Now this is going to be in 5 light, 2 heavy. And so what this is going to be is it's going to be a total of 18% damage reduction altogether. That is huge. That is a ton of damage reduction. I've had multiple groups trying to take me down while I'm by myself, while also achieving almost 4,000 spell damage. So it is quite a bit. Now let's go over glyphs real quick. So all of these are going to be Hakeju glyphs. Okay, everything on here is max stat glyphs. I've been preferring that over anything else, mainly because it gives us a really good max stamina, as well as a good max health, and our max Magicka pool is not too bad, 34.4k, which I found to be more than enough to do damage. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put on... Oops. Let's go ahead and put this in the entropy spot. Go ahead and buff up. So as you can see, we are 2689. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Well, JD, that's not a whole lot of spell damage. How are you, how are you getting a lot of spell damage?" Well, if you look at my weapon here, we're gonna be running infused with a weapon glyph, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna give us an additional 452. So it's gonna put us right over 4,000. I'm sorry, 3,000. And what I've been hitting. So with a resource buff, I've been able to get 3,700 total. And on my back bar, you are sitting at 4,000 on the back bar. So when we go back and look at what we have here on the back bar, so let's go ahead and go over rings real quick. Now, keep in mind, you will need some transmute stones to make this build. Because I am running an 2 arcane rings, or 3 arcane rings. And all 3 of these have spell damage glyphs on them. We are running an infused front bar flame staff with a weapon damage glyph on it. Now, this is going to give you more sustained damage than a Nirnhone with a weapon damage glyph. So I would suggest that if you want more damage. I prefer it this way because I'm always light attacking, so I have 100% uptime with this glyph. On top of that, it is always active, and while being always active, it's constantly giving me that spell damage and the weapon damage. Now, as for the sword on the back bar, I am running a Nirnhone. The reason why I have a Nirnhone is so I have a bigger heal, as well as a little bit more damage on the back bar from whenever I proc my, you know, volatile armor and things like that. As well as wings. So having more damage on your back bar is going to affect your wings damage as well. So keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and look at the enchant I have back bar. This is also weapon damage. It doesn't really matter. I don't really do a whole lot of light attacking back there, so I don't really give a shit about that one. Let's go ahead and go over skills real quick. Skills, I'm running Flame Lash, Burning Embers, Talons, Fossilize, Inner Light, and Ferocious Leap. On my back bar, Coag, Reflective Plate, Volatile Armor. I'm not running Molten Armaments. I just have it on here for the video's sake. For back bar, I typically run Degeneration right now because I'm using a staff. And then I run Cauterize and Standard of Might. Alright, so just real quick, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple of other things. We're going to look at CP real quick, so let's dive in. On this bar here, so you can get Arcane Well, but you don't really need it. I mean, I have it, but it's kind of whatever. Alright, so, but this is how I have my points set up. So, I went ahead and I did some testing and trying to find out what the best way is to do CP. So I found with anything that goes up to 25 points or 25%, you don't want more than 51 points in it. If you have more than 51, you're losing points. Anything that has 15% in it, you don't want to go above 49. If you go above 49, you're losing points. Anything that has 35 points in it, okay, or 35%, which would be like Staff Expert has 35%. And there's a few others that have 35%. You don't want to go more than 50. After 50, you're losing points. So keep those things in mind. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and dive into what I'm doing for CP. I'm running 15 points into Bless. It's going to give us 4% additional healing. 51 points into Elfborn for a full 19% additional crit damage and heals, as well as 49 points to Elemental Expert for 11.10%, we'll just say 11% extra Flame, Frost, Shock, and Magic damage. And then I've got 3 points in Spell Erosion. Guys, keep in mind with this, with Spell Erosion, this is going to be the last tree you want to put points into. The highest percentage you can get on Spell Erosion is literally 8%, okay? So that's the highest amount of percentage penetration you're going to get out of Spell Erosion. It sucks. Don't worry about it. Like, I wouldn't even put points into it unless you have a few points left over and you can't get a percentage out of something else. All right, so we have 50 points into Staff Expert for a total of 26% extra damage with light and heavy attacks. 51 points into Master at Arms for a total of 19% increased damage with direct damage. And then we have 15 points into Thaumaturge, or 51 points into Thaumaturge for a total of 19% extra damage out of Thaumaturge. Now, if you guys want to take a couple of points out and put it in Spell Erosion, get that Arcane Well, if you're having trouble sustaining, you're more than welcome to do that. I've just been playing the class for so long. I don't have any trouble sustaining, so in any means. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on here, and then after we're done with CP, we're going to look over stats so you guys can get an idea of what kind of regen we're running, and also what kind of food we're running as well. All right, so on the Steed, we have 51 points into Ironclad, 26 points into Resistant. That's going to give us all three of these, which are actually pretty important. So keep these in mind when you're putting in the Steed tree. You always want up to Resilient because those 3 CP passives are pretty important. In the Lady, we're running 49 points into Hardy, 43 points into Elemental Defender. 49 is going to give us 11%, 43 is going to give us 10, and then we're running 51 points into Thick Skin for a total of 19% against damage over time abilities. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, Ironclad is going to give us 19% damage reduction to direct damage, and 26 points are going to give us 749 critical resistance. So now on the Lord, we are looking at 50 points into Expert Defender, and that's just going to get us a 26% reduction on light attacks. I feel like this is a very crucial thing to make us tanky, so keep that in mind when you're doing those. So guys, whenever you're looking at resistance, so keep in mind with crit resist, anything from my math, I know somebody else said it was 68 points was, 1% crit resist. I found that 66 points is actually 1% of crit resist. Now, that's just going off of the assumption that this is going up to 25%. Okay? So that's going off of that assumption. If we don't go off that assumption, then it would be 68. So moving on. Oh, and guys, also, when you're looking at CP and you're doing light armor focus or spell shield or heavy armor focus, please keep in mind those CPs have the same diminishing returns as your spell erosion or your physical pin. Okay, does need to be the absolute last thing you put anything into if you have nowhere else to put points. Okay, so keep that in mind. Moving on over here to the tower, we have 51 points in a Warlord for a full total break free cross of 19%. We are running 19 points in Mooncalf for 5% stamina recovery, 49 points in Arcanist, 49 points into Healthy. Both these are going to give us 11% of both health recovery and Magicka recovery. 51 points into Tumbling and 51 points into Shadow Ward. That's going to be a total of 19% on block and dodge roll. So that's the CP. Let's go ahead and look at stats real quick. Let me go ahead and make sure my food is going to be up for a while. Okay, we got 10 minutes. Plenty of time to finish this here. Okay, so our buff stats, I believe we are on... Okay, so we're on Sword and Board bar. So our buffed up mitigation stats, we're looking at 26.7 spell resistance and 21.5 physical resistance. Now let's go ahead and jump over to the front bar. That's 23.2 on front bar and 18 on front bar. Now keep in mind, I know those resistances look kind of low, but guys, we have a ton of pin. A ton of just full-on damage reduction. And so what I learned with this build was I was fighting a healing debuff guy, Stam DK yesterday, and he couldn't dent me, even with corrosive up doing no damage. So that's just something to keep in mind. You're doing a full 18% reduction, as well as, getting all of these reductions over here in the orange tree. Okay, so all of these reductions are stacking. Okay, and so by stacking those reductions, we're taking no damage, and we're in light armor getting free damage anyways, just because we're in light armor. So going back to stats here, let's go ahead and do our buffed up. Let's see, buffed up. We're gonna go ahead and put this in here. Okay, so buffed up stats. We're looking at 29 without our glyph proct on the back bar, and 26 to 89 on the front bar without our glyph proct. Keep in mind, with the glyph proct on the staff, you're going to be right at around 35 to 36 without a resource buff, and 37 to 4,000 on the back bar with a resource buff. Okay, so now moving on. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, there we go. Okay, so moving on here. Now we're looking at 1424 Magicka recovery, 825 health recovery, and 700 stamina recovery. JD, how are you getting all that? Well, we're running the Atronach for an additional 238. On top of that, we are running Clockwork Citrus Fillet. If you guys can't afford this, your health recovery will be a little bit lower, and you can run Witch Mother's Brew, which is a cheap alternative to this food. But you guys know me, and I like gold food. So that's it. All right, guys, so that is that's the Fire Mage build. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to toss it down in the comment section for me. I am running a Dunmer for any of you guys who have any questions on that. I have not changed my race. I am staying a Dunmer. I'm still not running Vampire. I have been thinking about it. You might see me do a little bit of testing with Vampire, but I don't think I'm going to be using Vampire. If you guys want any alternatives and you don't want to run the Vampire Cloak set, and you want to run a little bit more damage, you're welcome to run Burning Spellweave. That's what I was running. It works really well. Or if you want to run spinners with 3 damage glyphs, you can do that as well. I found that to be less as effective because your heals suck. So I found that Burning Spellweave was just a better option for better heals. Anyways, so yeah, if you guys, like I said, if you have any further questions, please just toss them down in the comments section. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you out there on the battlefield. Y'all have a good afternoon or good morning or a good night, whichever one it's going to be. Talk to you later, and yeah.